Welcome back to the debate. Matt Upson and Danny Mills alongside me here in the studio. Mauricio Pochettino now, perhaps a big challenge for him on the horizon. No Kane, he's out injured till March. Son's off to the Asia Cup. First and foremost, how big a deal is that for him to have to manage? And secondly, how did they fill the gap?
I think it's very, very difficult. Son has been exceptional, I think, for some time. He offers Tottenham something that little bit different. He's got outstanding quality. His work rate is immense. The way that he runs off the ball, runs in behind. He's almost playing up front as a two now with Harry Kane, you know, and they've worked very, very well together. So you've now lost your two centre forwards. One that's putting a shift in, making the runs to create space for the goal scorer. And they've both gone for at least 4 weeks. I think it's going to be very, very difficult for Tottenham in that period. And how they deal with that, I think teams will look at it now and go, no Son, no Kane. We can have a real go at these.
He seems relatively pragmatic about the situation, doesn't he? I mean, is that just Pochettino's style and he doesn't want to cause any undue panic, or is he happy enough with what he's got?
I think he's a man very confident in his own ability, isn't he, to cope with any situation, which is why, you know, he's being hunted by top clubs. But, you know, you lose your top goal scorer, you lose Son, who's arguably, for the moment, at the moment, for me, the player, Tottenham's player of the season. I think he's been absolutely outstanding this season. And I think he's looking at it thinking, well, I've got Llorente, got Lucas Moura, so they're my two. I think he's going to say, I'm going to trust you two now to go and play. Llorente needs an opportunity. He's been at the club for quite a while. He's had very limited opportunities due to the amount of games that Harry Kane will play. He never seems to miss a game, which is brilliant for him. He's going to put some trust into him, and he'll bring some young players in. There's a couple of young players that have been training with them. I think a guy called Troy Parrott and Keziah Sterling have been training with the first team, who are under-18s and under-23 players. And in the fashion of how Tottenham have been operating and Pochettino operates, he'll get them into the squad, he'll start to put some faith, and maybe accelerated, you know, their progress due to the injuries and the loss of Son. But he's got a couple of players there that he sees something in, and he'll work with them and get the best out of them.
Moura can come in, Lamela can come in.
Yeah.
You know, they've got options that they're not as strong. I just feel now, when that team sheet comes in, you go, no Son, no Kane.
Of course.
It's a big sigh of relief for a lot of opposing teams. Think, actually, we can now get these. Maybe Ali's got to step up. He's, compared to seasons of the past, his form this season hasn't been as good. Maybe now this is his opportunity. You know, we've seen him in the past. He loves to break forward. Son's been making those runs. So maybe this is an opportunity for him to change his game a little bit.
But my issue with that is that I actually think they may have to adopt a slightly different style as well. You know, they've been playing the two up, like you said, quite high, Son and Kane, both high. But I think with Llorente, you've got to play a little bit different. You can't... He's not as mobile as those two, for sure. So they're going to want to hit him with the ball. They're going to have to make more runs off of him and maybe just slightly tweak the style of play that they've been this season.
Is it particularly galling with the Son situation when you look at the form that he's in? I mean, in December, he's been a player that's been so effective for Tottenham, and it almost seems they'd have seen the Asia Cup looming on the horizon. So the timing of it is
sign
poor, isn't it?
An Asian player and then moan that he's going to go to the Asian Games. You can't sign an African player, then moan that he's going off to the African Cup of Nations. You know that when you sign an international player, you know, from that continent, that's going to be a problem for you at some point. So you should have a contingency plan.
I think they hung on to him as long as they possibly could as well. And I think he went out quite late considering. So I think they made the best of the situation.
Do you think, when you mentioned Llorente, I mean, we've had a tweet here about giving youth a chance and believing Llorente, because there's no better quality out there currently to bring into the club. But we also know the lack of activity, but the lack of activity from them in previous transfer windows perhaps suggests that they're not going to go.
Well, and that's the problem. There is clearly, you know, Higuain's looks like he's going into Chelsea. There is quality out there. Are Tottenham going to pay for that quality? I would say no. You know, simple answer. They didn't strengthen this summer. They're not going to strengthen again this time around. And you just wonder now, does this start to affect Pochettino's future? Suddenly he's going, if they have a little bit of a downturn with no Kane, with no Son, no investment, and he's thinking, well, actually, this might what I have to be deal with next season. Harry Kane, there might be a huge offer coming from one of the giants, and he may leave. And Pochettino might be thinking, well, then where do I go? What's next? How much can I keep improving this team, bringing youngsters through, and really challenge for the Premier League, for the Champions League? So it could be a crucial time for Tottenham.
But you'll always have relative targets to where you feel you're at. And I think the flip side of that is that he might relish this opportunity to show how good a coach he is, this is why everyone's talking about him, because he's shown how good a coach he is. Because what he's working with in terms of funds and players isn't as strong as the other teams that they're competing with. It really isn't.
But do you not think there might be an internal frustration if there's a bit of reality and they lose 2 or 3 games and he goes, if I was at Manchester United, if I was at Real Madrid, I could bring in 3 top-class players or have a bigger squad.
At the drop of a hat.
And I could still coach these,
Yeah.
and then I could challenge for the Champions League. I could challenge seriously for the Premier League.
No, of course, but at the moment his targets will be stay alive in all competitions. Can I keep my team alive in every competition they're in now until my key players are back? So FA Cup, Champions League, Premier League. They've got a semi-final to look forward to where they're 1-0 up. They've got 7 points.
Crucial.
They've got 7 points on Arsenal and Manchester United. They've got something to hang on to. I think it's actually you can look at it in a way and think this is our target. We've got this group of players. I've lost these guys. We've got this period of time. How well can we do in that?
That Chelsea game could be key. If Chelsea overturn that result and have a real positive result for them, and Tottenham lose that by 2-0, 3-1, whatever it may, psychologically that might damage the rest of the squad as well. They might, we're missing these 2 players. How do we recover from that? So I think that could be a real pivotal game. In this, yes, they suddenly get to a final, or they fall again at a big game. People have talked. I don't believe it, but people have talked about they lose their bottle and all that sort of thing. That will be thrown at them. If they go into a semi-final, 1-0 up, lose it, a couple of star players missing, I think that could be a problem. Going
back on what Matt said about it might show the full range of abilities of Mauricio Pochettino from a coaching point of view. I mean, as a cynic, could you also kind of look at the fact that it's showing him in a good light about how to deal with the hierarchy? There might not be money, but he very rarely sticks his head up and grumbles about it.
He's very, very clever. I think
almost like a PR exercise. He knows how to
in
manage upwards as well as
in the summer,
downwards.
he said we wanted to add players to the squad, and then he said and come out and said, well, no, I'm quite happy with the squad that I've got. He clearly wanted to add. Any manager wants to add to their squad, so he's not going to cause huge ripples at that football club. He knows the situation. I'm sure he's having dialogue with Daniel Levy daily, if not every other day, talking about what could and could not happen. He knows there's not going to be investment. He knows he's not going to be given 80, 90 million pounds to bring a striker or bring a couple of players in this window, and he does it, and he manages that very well. That makes him very, very attractive to other football clubs as well, because he's not causing problems. He's not like Mourinho was sometimes, overly aggressive against the board.
But the flip side of that is that he has the power, doesn't he? So I know what you're talking about, and everyone wants to have the ability to go and buy those players, but look at all of those clubs. How many of those clubs do you actually have the control or the power to assemble your own squad and to have the characters and personnel and people that you want in? That might only be 50% of your ability to make those choices. He pretty much nearly has the full power on that, and Daniel Levy will listen to his opinion and listen to his advice on what players should come into the club and what shouldn't, and that's a rare thing, isn't it, for a top 4 club in the Premier League.
Well, we've had a tweet in talking about perhaps players that could potentially be coming into Tottenham. Obviously, no bid's been made as yet. Eddie Howe has reassured everybody. Yes, need to invest. Callum Wilson would be the ideal candidate. Boosts his England career. Young, good PL pedigree, and would settle as he knows the English lads. Would he be a player of the correct standard to go in at Spurs? Obviously, it's hypothetical, but
I think he's a great player. He's done incredibly well recovering from injuries. Good goal scorer. He's got himself in the England squad. He can do it in the Premier League. Are Bournemouth going to let him go? Not unless it's a ridiculous fee. I can't see Tottenham paying that. And that's where the story ends. And that's what it comes down to.
So to that tweet, he's got no chance of going to Tottenham.
But why are Bournemouth going to let their top player go? What they're going to turn around and say, well, we want 60, 70, 80 million. I don't know, whatever they want. Unless Tottenham are prepared to break the bank, because they're going to have to replace Callum Wilson, with somebody, and that's going to cost them. I don't see that happening, not in the January window.
If there's a striker that comes in at Spurs, I can only see it being a loan. I really can. Like Danny said, I just don't feel that they're in a position, and maybe it's not right to strengthen properly in January. I know it's a bit of an emergency situation, but I think they'll just handle it, and they've got a manager who is able to put a squad together and to bring players in that can just handle the situation.
And given where they are in the league and perhaps having to deal with this next month, perhaps 6 weeks or so without key players, where realistically should they be looking to finish this season?
Yeah, I mean, this really does kind of put...
Are they in the title race, I think?
No.
Realistically?
Not at the moment.
No. I don't think they ever have been.
No.
City,
What, because the other two have been that good?
Because City and Liverpool are streaks ahead at the moment. Look at City's squad. It is sensational. You know, the 25-man squad is absolutely outstanding. The way that Liverpool are playing, they're bringing in players like Shaqiri off the bench. You know, they had a lot of injuries and they've still got great players in there. They've got a bigger squad. Tottenham just aren't quite at that level yet. And, I mean, for Tottenham, third is a great finish. Third and fourth. Champions League football again, yeah. It's
Top
still a great
four
finish.
is a big win for them at the moment, in the transition, what they're doing. So, title race, you know, it would be huge for them to win the title. But is it realistic at the moment with the strength? No, I agree. But I think staying alive, I think that is the key. In all of those tournaments, whether it be cups, league competitions, whatever it may be, can they stay alive? Can they maintain what they have and just try and keep that gap?
Does the top four finish keep Poch?
I think there's so many different variables on that you can't possibly answer that question. I mean, it all depends on how badly he's wanted, I suppose.
I agree. And who goes in the summer? Do Tottenham have to sell? Does a ridiculous bid come in for Eriksen, for Son, for Kane, for Ali? Suddenly you lose a couple of players. Does he bring them in? What does he get offered to any potential new club that he goes to? It's still up in the air at the moment. Does he want to continue and take the team into the new stadium? Is he thinking, OK, I just want to try, I want to do this? Or does he think, you know what, I've done the very, very best that I can. They finish third this year, Champions League, wherever they get to, whatever, and go, well, actually, unless I get big investment, it's almost impossible to compete. You know, look at the amount of money Liverpool have spent, the amount of money Manchester City have spent, Chelsea.
Does that go back to what you said about perhaps behind the scenes being secretly frustrated about looking at what's going on with his rivals?
I think you would have to, as good as a coach he is, sometimes to stay up with everybody else, you've got to spend. You know, that's been proven time and time and time again. Everyone will say, well, Leicester didn't. Well, that's the exception to the rule. That's not going to happen again. You look at all the clubs that have won the title, you know, apart from us, they've all spent big. The
other thing about it is that he'll want to challenge himself in being able to spend well.
Yeah.
Because just because you get given 200, 300 million to spend on your squad, you've got to spend it well, because they're the situations that sometimes are harder. When you're dealing with what you're given, you make the best of it, and he's shown that he's exceptional at that, and bringing youth into the team. All of those, he ticks a massive box. But then when you're handed that type of transfer fund to go and get the right players, it's not easy at times.
And again, is that another potential, if you're a CEO of another club, let's say Manchester United, you look at how he might go about spending money, especially with the way they spent money over the last couple of seasons. That's another big tick in the box.
Oh, for sure. I mean, that they need whoever's going to spend their money to invest it well, because, you know, for the past few seasons they've had indifferent, results with their transfers.
Pochettino's agents, intermediaries, lawyers, whoever it is, looks after him, aren't out there talking to a lot of top clubs, I would be incredibly surprised, put it that way. They will be sussing out every single option. Staying at Tottenham being one of them, and what Tottenham are going to offer him, but actually, just that curiosity, what else is out there for me? You know, what possibly could I move to, and what purse would I be given to go and spend?